She fell back and tried to find a place to hide, away from a strange half-world peopled with whispering memories and ghosts. "It is time to examine her," the midwife said, and her husband helped to lift Sophie higher onto the pillows. He stroked back her long, tangled hair and made a clumsy effort to braid it. Sophie brushed his hand away with a cry. The midwife rolled up Sophie's linen shift and her swollen body leapt into relief. The white thighs were streaked with blood and the distended belly contracted visibly. "It is coming," said the midwife. "Lift her up." He went to raise her up and eased his shoulders between Sophie and the bed. "This is what it is like to die," thought Sophie, her head hanging down onto her breast. "But I haven't said my prayers." "Dear God," she began, but a roaring in her ears and a burning, splitting sensation blotted out conscious thought. She was back in Paris again, to a time when death smelt in the hot sun, and the noise of marching feet rent the peace of the nights, and the thud of falling heads sounded into the breathless silence of watching crowds. Somewhere among it all was Héloise, but she didn't know where. She strained to find her, but Héloise eluded her, and Sophie couldn't remember what had happened. The baby was not coming as quickly as it should. "Turn her on her side," the midwife said quietly. He obeyed, shifting Sophie's heavy body awkwardly. A log on the fire broke in half with a crack, and the flames spurted higher, sending a shadow flickering up the wall. "Try to push," said the midwife. "I can't," Sophie gasped. "I can't. Oh, but I can't. I can't." The midwife's hands darted between her legs and cupped gently at the head emerging between them. "It's almost here," she said reassuringly. "Easy." With a slither, the baby arrived, and Sophie subsided into the arms that held her. Her husband laid her down and went to look as the baby was lifted clear. "A boy," said the midwife. "Madame, a boy." There was a hush for a good few minutes. Then Sophie's exhausted face puckered as the pain gripped her again. She cried out. It should be all over. It was all over? "There's another," cried the midwife. "Quick!" Sophie's husband took the baby from the midwife and cradled it in his arms, where it cried the desolate cry of the newborn. With infinite care, the midwife helped an even smaller, more delicate baby into the world and placed it on the bed, where its downy limbs jerked spasmodically. Sophie stretched out an arm with an effort, and her fingers brushed at its head. The midwife bent to cut the cord and then wrapped the baby in a shawl. "There, little girl," she crooned. "It is over." She laid it in the cradle, which stood waiting, and reached for its twin, arranging them so they lay together like tiny effigies. Sensing each other, brother and sister closed their eyes and lay still. Sophie was dimly aware of the midwife's hands busying themselves with the afterbirth. The peace was overwhelming, and a cocoon of contentment settled around her, cutting out the sights and sounds of the room. It wrapped her in its embrace, pressing her down into a haven where nothing could touch her. She closed her eyes. Small sparks of light filtered between her eyelashes, twisting and turning like petals in a breeze. "How strange," she thought. "It's like apple blossom. It's like high mullions all those years ago, when she was another person in another time." The petals heaped gently onto her face, pushing her back. Part 1. The Rising Storm. May to October, 1789. Chapter 1. Sophie, May 1789. "Sophie Maria," admonished her governess, "I must beg you to adjust your skirts." Sophie looked down in some surprise. She had been thinking about other things, the beautiful spring weather.